Welcome everybody. Today I'm going to be going over how to set up your NVIDIA graphics card for the ultimate game experience. And we'll be playing StarCraft II to demonstrate the settings. The graphics card we'll be using is the GeForce RTX 4090 Supreme liquid cooled graphics card from MSI. And we'll be using the GeForce Experience software from NVIDIA to see how the graphics card performs under the load of playing the game. And again, like I said, we'll be using StarCraft II to understand the performance. And we'll be displaying this on a ultra-wide 49-inch Samsung Odyssey OLED display. It's the G93SC series. So the first thing we want to do, of course, is download the software. You want to download StarCraft II. It's a free software. It's free to play, which is awesome. And then you also need to download the GeForce Experience software and install that. That is also free. If you have an NVIDIA graphics card, you can use it. So after we install the software, we need to set up our display settings. And the first thing we need to do is make sure that the refresh rate on our monitor is set to maximum. So to do this, we can go to the advanced display settings. So click on this arrow here. And then in the choose a refresh rate here, this monitor can go up to 240 Hertz. And so I just want to make sure I choose the maximum refresh rate, which I do right here. So that's the first. So I can go back to display. Here I have the display scale set to 125. I recommend when you're playing the game, go to 100%. But I won't do that now, so it's easier to see the screen. Also, the resolution we'll be using is 5120 by 1440. And then we'll have HDR on. We'll have HDR on. And the settings for HDR, the way I optimize them is I will click on HDR here. So again, if you go back to display, if you click on this arrow under Use HDR, it will take you to more settings that you can adjust for the HDR. And go to the, of course, have these on, and then go to the SDR content brightness. You can adjust that yourself, right? So if I lower this, it's going to become less bright. If I increase, it's going to become brighter. And the way I found works well for me to determine the ultimate brightness, so I use an Excel sheet here, and I focus on the colors here, the grays over here. And as I increase the value, you see the grays will start to disappear. I don't want them to be gone. I want to have that detail there. And so I'm going to drop this down a little bit. So around 80 is when the content comes back and it's still bright, as bright as I can get it. So I'm going to keep it like that. All right, so now that our display settings have been optimized, now I am going to use GeForce to optimize the game performance. So let's open that up. There it is. So once you open GeForce, this is a very neat software. It has both the home and drivers tabs. Under the home tab, now we're going to be playing StarCraft II. You're going to have all your games here showing up, but I've hidden them just so we can focus on this one. And then I'll click details. And then under the details, now you have the settings here that are current settings, but also you have the optimal settings that the graphics card recommends. All right, so looking at this, if you hover over any of these icons here, it will tell you what a little bit more details on what that setting does. Okay, so that's just a little bit of information if you're interested to go through them. And what I'm going to do is, here it's telling me I need to change the resolution from 3840 2160 to 5120 1440. All right, and then I think that's about it. So I'm going to just click optimize, let it do that for me. And so now the game is going to be using the optimal settings. All right. And then I'm going to go back. So now you see this check mark over here saying that the game is set to perform well. Then I'm going to go to the drivers, and I'm going to make sure I have the latest drivers installed. And in this case, I do. It says you can click check for updates, and it will tell you if there's any other updates, but it looks like I'm using the latest version. And then here, I think you can also go and look at studio drivers. So if you're using any drivers to do editing of video, you can download those drivers here. So I'll need to do that after this video. Okay, guys, so I'm going to go back to game drivers. And now I'm going to go back to home. For this next part, we're going to put in the overlay that gives you how well the card is performing as you're playing the game. So you can see that on the side while you're playing the game. So how do we get that on here? You would go click over here where it's the in-game overlay. We'll click on that. And then we're going to go to the settings gear right here. And we're going to choose HUD layout. And here we have multiple options. What we want to choose is performance. And now we're going to choose where we want our HUD to be, or our overlay to be. So I'm going to choose the upper left corner. When I click that, it goes in the upper left corner over here, and it gives us statistics such as CPU utilization, GPU utilization, GPU clocks, memory clocks, GPU temperature, the fan speeds on the GPU, GPU power, how much power are we consuming as we're running it, the voltage, and once we're inside the game, we're also going to be looking at the latency and the frames per second. Okay, so now that we have that enabled, we can click back, done, and then we're going to exit out of that. All right, so now we're set and we're ready to start playing the game. To that, I'm going to go back to home, and I'm going to come and click launch on the game, and now it's going to get me in the game. We'll see you in a little bit. Okay, so this is now per second, around 400, 500 frames per second. This is the cinematics. So the 99% FPS is around 377 here, 393 it looks like. The latency is about 7.5 to 7 milliseconds. And again, this is the cinematics. Once we go into the game, the latency will change, and it's going to be about 1 millisecond. And the GPU clocks are also here, about 2,775 megahertz. The memory clock's about 10,500 megahertz. The GPU temperature is holding steady at 54 degrees C. And we're consuming about 350 watts of power. So this is really pushing the card, which is good. All right, so now we're starting the game, and you see it's about 0.9 milliseconds latency, 0.8. And the frames per second, 99% FPS is in the upper 400s. And the real-time FPS is around 518. And the watts, the power we're drawing here is significantly low, about 200 watts. All right, so he's telling me some tutorials, so I'm going to skip that. And let's play for a little bit. Let's move these guys around, select them, and over here. You see the latency again, and everything's changing as you're playing, but again, you can get, I've seen latencies as low as 0.2 milliseconds, and then I've also seen FPS going up to close to 1,000 at some point, which is crazy amount of FPS. And this monitor has a very low latency, very high refresh rate. Let's kill these guys. There we go. All right, and this is depending on which map you're playing, which campaign you're doing. Everything will vary. All these settings here will vary on the left. Hi guys, I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, please like and subscribe so that I can make some more videos like this. All right, until next time.